Hey, hi there. Koen and Bas here, back with our podcast about AI and how to apply it for your business. Today, we'll be covering three key topics in AI. First, we'll look into OpenAI's new O3 release that has just been released over Christmas and its performance on the Arc AGI benchmark test and what these developments could mean for possible applications of AI in the future. And then we'll explore some of the emerging AI trends for 2025, in particular AI agents and their potential impact on how we could work. And finally, we'll share some insights from a recent project we did for NEKO, where we've put some of the agent concepts into practice. So yeah, let's get started. Maybe first to kick off, Koen. Yeah, how did you receive the news from OpenAI's O3? What were your first thoughts around it? Because we've recently seen O1, of course, being
Yeah,
released.
yeah,
They skipped O2 apparently because the name was taken by a huge telecom provider,
yeah.
and now they've come up with this new
New
um,
model.
model.
Yeah.
So yeah, what were your first thoughts?
Well, I think the first thought was that it's quite quickly launched after O1. And I think it's another way of developing models. It's not that they need a lot of compute power to train these models, but they're just changing the way the model works, I think. And that's why they can process these models more quickly. And it was part of the 12 days of OpenAI, right? The
Yeah,
12 days of
their marathon marketing stunt where
yeah,
they launched something new every day
yeah,
or a couple days in a row. But my thoughts actually first were again a new model, but they broke out with this news also in accordance with some interesting benchmarks that everyone is aiming for in the industry. One of those benchmarks is called the Arc AGI test, where they measure complex intelligence in artificial algorithms such as OpenAI's O3. And there it scored so much higher than all of the existing models out there that you can call this a significant leap, in my opinion. And you have some journalists or some rumors talking about a ceiling of artificial intelligence and that we have already reached the ceiling, but that's now all out of the way when you look at these benchmarks and the performance wins over here. So that were my first thoughts.
yeah. Because this benchmark is aimed at measuring human intelligence, right? So not necessarily programming or language or math, but also some sort of because there are a lot of AI models out there that they say are smart, but when you use them, it's a simple task it can't perform. But this test is aimed at testing these simple tasks, right? Which are simple for humans but are hard for AI.
Well, not simple for humans, I would say. So
Yeah, but
complex for humans, still complex questions that smart humans can solve
yeah.
quite easily without training, but are really hard for artificial intelligence models that don't have the answers somewhere in their database. Recently, we've seen all these thinking models, one, for example, but also a couple open source models that are replicating this. Um, and yeah, it tests an intelligence for to discover new correlations in data or new patterns. So yeah, that's a little bit different than some of the other benchmarks out there because yeah, it's quite hard for these models to solve something totally novel that they haven't seen or come across before, and that is what it's testing basically.
How do we know that these new models aren't trained on information about these tests?
Yeah, so part of these tests are totally private or semi-private, so they really check if these tests are not in the data set, for example. And yeah, Arc is a foundation, so an autonomous entity that really focuses on developing these tests to see where we are at with AI in general. And yeah, maybe it's interesting to have a look at this graph. So quite recently we have had one and O1 preview. And with OpenAI that has released this specific model, they have now a pro subscription where you can get access to a high compute variant of one or the normal O1. And the high compute O1 scores 32% in this Arc AGI benchmark test. And now the new model scores 76%. And when you put more capacity in or more compute in, then they can stretch it all the way to 88%, which is a huge increase in that sense. Because if you look at some of the other old AI models like GPT-4, 4.0, yeah, they score somewhere between 0 and 5% on this bench.
Yes, also I think the last sentence on your screen, that it took 4 years from GPT-3 scoring 0% to GPT-4.0, which scored 5%. So it took 4 years to go from 0 to 5%, and now, well, I think in a couple of months we shifted from 32% to 88%, which is quite a step forward.
Yeah, crazy. And then if you have a look at cost, because it still costs a lot of compute, and this cost goes down and down and down, but the current costs are quite interesting to see. So if you give this model 100 tasks in this example, or 400 tasks, then the cost is quite high. But these might be tasks that take humans days. And this model, it only takes a couple minutes to solve this specific task. So it can still be interesting to use this model, but once costs go down, I think it will become more and more interesting. But I was quite surprised by these costs. But something you usually don't see. You just write something down in ChatGPT or another AI client, and then you don't think of what it will cost in terms of hardware. Not entirely sure what it would cost if I would just ask one, for example, a question. Would be interesting to see that comparison, but it has not been disclosed. But yeah, gives you an idea. And also the amount of tokens are listed here. So a token is part of a word or sentence. And usually you pay for either the token input and the token output. That's where the business models are. And that seems to correlate well with the compute power you need. So yeah, quite interesting, I think.
And do we know, because O3 is not yet launched, right? It's announced, but do we know when it's going to be launched?
Yeah, they said in the live stream in a couple months, and they now launch in a more gradual way because the model is so much more powerful. They first want to launch the models to a couple of researchers that test for AI safety, because if you make the model so much smarter, it can potentially do so much more stuff you didn't think about.
Yeah.
That they invited everyone to enlist as a safety researcher, and then they will get access first, and then once it's been battle tested, I think they will release it to the general public. But you can imagine this jump in intelligence is quite something you want to keep an eye on. And what are they testing it with? If you have seen an IQ test, for instance, this might seem familiar. So this is just one of the tests. They have a lot of tests that test all different capabilities of a model, but these are really intelligence tests. So which are not in the data set, of course, of this particular model. And then they say, okay, these are a couple of examples from, in this case, a grid with a couple of colors, example inputs and outputs. And then they just ask the model, okay, this is a new situation. What do you think should be the result over here? And then the model either comes up with the answer or not. But that really makes you see that it can recognize patterns also in data, which is also, it's not new. You can already see it in the current models, but it's not always working 100%. So that's interesting about this, that it's really performing very well. But yeah, with these models getting more intelligent and more intelligent, I think it's quite interesting to have a look, what we can expect for the coming year. Because one of the trends we see coming is that we are creating more and more AI models that can handle regular or daily tasks of humans in businesses, that require a significant level of intelligence to take the right steps. And of course, we've been building about around 30 practical implementations with AI in businesses in the past year. But this year we'll only see more and more of those as the models get smarter and smarter, and that also unlocks more use cases. And when the AI model sits within a business process and handles a task and uses multiple tools to execute on an end goal, we call this an AI agent. So we think that's one of the trends for this year, that we will be seeing more and more agents.
Yeah,
So
but
maybe you can dive into that.
yeah, because I'm curious whether we're going to see more agents or agents that can handle more tasks. Because right now, last year, we developed quite some agents. And an agent is an AI model which has some specific tasks to perform. So, for example, match incoming quotation requests with the assortment of a company. And right now we develop an agent that has tools to look in the quotation request and look in the assortment of the client to match it. And that's then the agent with a real specific task. But this agent can't handle, for example, writing the actual quotation that comes from this matching. And I'm curious to see whether we're going to build more agents which can work together, or that we're going to make one agent handle more tasks because the AI models get smarter and better.
Well, I think once the models get smarter, you have to provide less instructions or less guardrails in terms of where it can look and cannot look, or what steps it must take and shouldn't take, because it understands better in what context it is executing a certain task or executing or going towards a certain goal.
Yeah.
So what we've seen over the last year is that we have to be really specific when implementing AI models in a certain business process, and give a lot of context in how it should behave and perform, because otherwise it goes into the wrong direction quite fast. So that's now the art of AI implementation, that we provide the right instructions and it takes the right the right section or the right path towards the end goal. And that basically comes down to a lot of testing and providing the right instructions, and sometimes fine tuning these models
Yeah,
to more likely take the right path. But I think once we achieve general intelligence, that this gets just as easy for AI as it would be for a human. But then the AI knows everything we've written about every topic ever, and the human wouldn't. So in terms of decision making, it will get on par with humans or maybe even better. And in terms of knowledge, it already is, of course.
yeah, but I do think that by giving one agent more tasks, it also becomes more and more a black box to understand how it works, how it comes to decisions. So I think in terms of transparency and control, it would be better to create multiple agents which you can give a specific task and monitor better than it's one agent that does it all, right?
Well, in the end, maybe it doesn't matter. In the end, when the model is smart enough and it can provide you with the reasoning behind the steps,
Yeah.
then you're there as well. But in terms of, you can look at one agent and have the same traceability as a lot of agents, right? What would be the difference in your eyes?
Well, I think if it's all happening on one place, one location, one AI, then it's doing so many things at the same time, that I think it becomes hard to understand the reasoning compared to when you have multiple agents that can focus on one decision or one task, and then they can explain why they performed a certain task, compared to one agent that does it all. It's because if it's capable of performing all these tasks at the same time, at one point it can process more tasks than we can follow. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, you mean if you can't follow the thought process of the model.
Or it's when it's too much. Not necessarily that it's too difficult, but it's just too much.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be a little bit harder to pinpoint where it's at. But for instance, if you look in how O1 works, they show you part of the thinking process of the model, right? Which is in essence how it made a certain conclusion. But this is still quite limited. So if we were building an agent last year, we could of course see, okay, this agent gave this answer and another agent picked it up. And then the definitive answer was either right or wrong, but we could at least see where it went wrong. That's what you mean, right? Yeah, I think as long as you can follow the thought process, yeah, and that's traceable and you can save it and you can have a look at it, then you can be there. But if you just have a question and an answer comes out, then yeah, it would be very hard to defend how a decision was made, of course.
Yeah.
I understand. But maybe it's cool if we have a look at an example agent from a recent case we did. I think you prepared a little bit for the NEKO case that you mentioned briefly, but maybe it's also interesting to see we're now using this particular model and how would that maybe change with a smarter model? Would we just get better output or would something else be possible? Or yeah, I think that's also an interesting thing to look at.
Yes, let me share my screen.
Maybe we should, quickly summarize what this customer does. Also.
Yeah, it's they supply goods to ships, sea ships, and they supply food, but also office gear, pencils, papers, everything you need on board of a ship, besides the fuel and the stuff they ship. So they get in quotation requests from their clients requesting supplies for a specific vessel, for a specific ship. And right now they have a score that if they answer this quotation request within 1 day, they have a 50% score rate. So the speed of replying to these quotation requests is really important. And so that's why we started this project to see whether we can use an AI agent to match the quotation request from these vessels with the product assortment of the client. So they have a database with 300k products in there, and they get in quotation requests via all kinds of portals, emails, all different sources. But in general, the quotation request is in a spreadsheet. So this is just a spreadsheet with each row in the spreadsheet is one product with a certain quantity they want. And they use this input from these vessels to search in the assortment of the company to match it so they can produce a quotation. So the first part of the flow I'm showing right now is about extracting this information from the spreadsheet so we know what's in the quotation request. We then call and restore this information in a spreadsheet of our own. And then based on this new spreadsheet, we loop through each item of the quotation request to trigger another workflow. So here we get
maybe before the people that have never seen what we're looking at. So we're looking at N8N, which is a tool to develop business automation.
Yeah.
With low code nodes, so to say. And then you connect the nodes and this is really working software, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that's
Yeah, sorry. It's maybe one step back. With N8N, we can build business flows using no code or low code, so we don't have to develop that much software. We can just configure it using this tool. And this tool is um, a lot of apps in there by default. So, for example, a connection with Google Spreadsheet, a connection with Microsoft Teams, etc. All those connections are already available in N8N, which we can use with a click of a button. And it also really helps because this flow is really visible and understandable also when you don't write code. And so it really helps us to explain how something works when we work with our clients, like I'm trying to do now, but maybe it's a bit of
Sorry for the small intrusion, Koen, but
no worries, no worries. That's why you're here. So what I was telling, we extract the information from the quotation requests and we store it in a temporary spreadsheet for ourselves. And then we loop through each row in the spreadsheet. So each product in the quotation request, and then call another flow. And this other flow is over here. So for each row in the quotation request, this webhook is triggered, the data comes in, and that's when we have this AI agent.
maybe quickly, a webhook is something that can take data in from another source, like another program. But in this case, we have written the program or the flow you've seen before, and that triggers this webhook. But a webhook can just receive data and then send a response, usually.
Yeah. So here the data comes in and it responds by storing the data in the temporary spreadsheet we created. But the main part of this flow is the AI agent. So here in this AI agent, you see the system prompt. So here we explain the AI model, what's the steps to take to find the right products in the assortment, also which output format to use, and we provide it with some examples. So the AI models understands via these examples what is expected. And like Bas said in the beginning, right now and last year, this prompt for this AI model can be really specific. So sometimes when we change one word in this prompt, it can improve or make the results a lot worse or better. So it's really about the details in these instructions. And I think with the improvement of the AI models in more general intelligence, these prompts become less strict, less hard to pinpoint. And if you look, this AI agent is linked to an AI model. So here we use GPT-4o right now. But as you can see, we can use a lot of different versions of 4o, but also o1. GPT 3.5 is even still in there. So depending on the use case, we can select the right model. And that's always a combination of quality, costs, of course, and speed. And based on this triangle, we determine which model to use. And as you can see, this AI agent also has a tool, in this case, the Algolia tool. And Algolia is a database for large sets of data. So in Algolia, this is a specific database, we have stored all the assortment data. And this agent can now use this tool to find the right products in the assortment. So if we go for
It's basically a database with indexes, right? That you can search through really quickly because they have, what did you say, 300,000 products? And usually when you search directly in a database, this can take quite a few seconds because, yeah, of how in particular this database is structured. But with Algolia, you can search it in a couple milliseconds.
Yeah.
So that helps.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
also
And
do
this.
ranking and matching, right? So in the search
Yeah.
results.
Yeah. 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 So this type of database is optimized for searching large data sets. And this AI agent can now perform one or more searches in this data set to find the right products. And then based on the information it gets from this database, it determines which product is suitable for the quotation request done by the client. So on the left, you see the data coming in. So tomatoes peeled, quantity 12 in tins. So they want tins. And then on the right, you can see the product it found in the database, peeled tomatoes, which is a carton with 12 tins in there. And this information, which is found in the database, is then stored in this spreadsheet, which the client can then use to create the quotation. So this AI agent, when it gets in a request, it determines the search assignment in Algolia. So the words to use or the filters to use for searching in this database. And then based on the output from this database, it determines which product is most suitable for this row in the quotation request.
Yeah, and maybe what's interesting to mention, I heard about that this morning. This client has now to make sure they are available 24/7, right? To handle quotes, because otherwise they miss this deadline of a business day. So they have a global team of specialists that are now doing this, what we showed over here with AI.
Yeah.
So the potential upside of this is huge because if we could automatically make the quote in the end. So now we really focused on the search, but it's essentially about the quote, which is not too far away when we look at this workflow to also provide the quote. So did you have the example as well from the UI in where it gets this workflow gets activated? Might be quite interesting.
Yeah, but it's just a.
Now, otherwise, I have two images over here. It's just a really simple form where you upload the quote, and that triggers both of these workflows that then determine the right products for the quotation request.
Yeah. Maybe it's better to show the images. I don't have the URL.
You see, I have it on Slack over here. It's this one. So Joey, the developer that created this together with Koen, just sent it to me this morning. But basically, what they have is a website, and at this website, they upload a file, they press submit, and then the submit is handled by the workflow Koen just showed. And then we have a Google spreadsheet that looks like this, where we get the category, the items asked for, the quantity, and the units. And we just fill in the matching products for that, which looks like this. So the matched articles. So someone asked for butter unsalted, and that's in their database also as butter unsalted. So that's a quite easy one, but sometimes it's oil for cooking. And they have this over here and how many they need to make 30 kilos or 30 liters from that. So this is essentially what the AI outputs. So a complete picture of the quotation requests and the match products. And from here, of course, they can quite easily go to a quote. And we've taken out the prices here in this screenshot, but it's just for demonstration purposes. Yeah, so I think an interesting concept of how you can use such an AI agent. And maybe it's now interesting to finish up with to see how this would change with a much smarter model. So yeah, we didn't think ahead about this.
Yeah, I think one of the challenges in this specific example is that a client, for example, requests a certain set of keyboard and a mouse, for example, which has a specific product code. but then in the comments, they say this set, but then without the keyboard, for example. And a human can read this comment and then think, okay, this set, but then the separate mouse. But right now, the models we're using aren't smart enough to make this combination.
Yeah, and then we have to be really explicit about it, right?
Yeah.
So once you see this, that means you have to do it in a certain way. And then if the model was smarter, then it would get it.
Yeah.
Upfront.
So it's right now it's possible, but we need to do a lot of extra context to make sure that it doesn't make mistakes there. And I think when O3 is out, it's probably going to understand it out of the box without any extra context.
Yeah, really cool use case for an AI agent. We have a lot more coming in the next few weeks as well in terms of stuff we can show. So we'll show you more and more AI agents, and I think this year will be full of building more of those and automating things that we used to do ourselves, so we can concentrate on talking with each other instead of
making more videos.
No, the videos will be necessary. The videos will be necessary, but
but we have more time for making videos.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I think thanks for watching this time. If you have any requests of what we should tackle the next time, feel free to leave a comment on YouTube or reach out to us on hello@7lab.dev. Feel free to watch again next time. Subscribe to our channel to keep us motivated, and see you next time.
See you later.